standing at the observation deck of the prestigious Galactic Defense Academy, watching the approaching human vessels, my primary sensory nodes nearly short-circuited. Never in my distinguished career as Captain Zaleth Brightwing had I witnessed such an appalling sight at our graduation ceremony. By the celestial gates, my second-in-command, Commander Thex, gasped beside me. What sort of catastrophe are we witnessing? The human vessel, and I use that term loosely, approached our pristine docking bay like a wounded space whale. Its hull, a patchwork of mismatched metals, sported what appeared to be actual bolt-on plates. Some sections were painted bright red, while others showed bare metal that had clearly been scraped against something unpleasant. That, Commander, is apparently humanity's contribution to our defense fleet, I said, my voice dripping with all the enthusiasm of a Mercurian ice slug. The ship, which they proudly called the Lucky Penny, wheezed to a stop, releasing bursts of actual steam from external vents. Several of our graduating cadets covered their auditory organs as the vessel's ancient docking clamps engaged with a screech that would make a dying star sound harmonious. Captain, one of my top students, Nexus 8, pointed at the vessel's hull. Those are actual rivets, and is that duct tape? Temporary patch, commented Commander Thex, though from the looks of it, temporary might mean several solar cycles. Before I could respond, 3 more human ships limped into view. Each looked worse than the last. One had mismatched engine pods, another sported what appeared to be manual steering fins, and the third had been painted with flames along its sides, like some primitive ground vehicle. The Lucky Penny's airlock cycled open with a hiss that suggested either a poorly maintained seal or, more worryingly, an intentional design feature. A human female strode out, wearing a uniform that showed signs of actual physical repairs. Behind her, her crew emerged, grinning like they'd just won the Galactic Championships. Captain Maya Rodriguez reporting for duty. She gave what their species called a salute. Don't mind the exterior. She's got it where it counts. Where what counts? I muttered to Commander Thex. The number of safety violations. Welcome to the 457th graduation ceremony of the Galactic Defense Academy, I announced, my professional training barely masking my horror. Though I must ask, are your vessels spaceworthy? Captain Rodriguez laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, they're not just spaceworthy, they're space-proven. We believe in function over fashion. Looking at the dented hull of the Lucky Penny, I couldn't see either function or fashion. Little did I know that these ramshackle vessels would soon teach me the most valuable lesson of my career. Never judge a ship by its hull plates. 3 standard rotations after the humans joined our fleet, I found myself questioning the Galactic Council's sanity. The integration meeting turned into a comedy show, though I failed to see the humor in potential death by spacecraft malfunction. Listen up, everyone, I announced to the assembled crews in our pristine briefing chamber. Today we'll synchronize our patrol patterns using quantum-linked navigation arrays. A hand shot up. Captain Rodriguez sprawled in her chair like she was at a beach resort, not a military briefing. Yeah, about that. The Lucky Penny runs on good old star charts and manual calculations. Admiral Zarkax's crystalline head crest nearly shattered. Manual calculations? What's next? Navigating by counting stars. Hey, it works! Thunder Thompson, Rodriguez's first officer, leaned forward with a grin that could power a small sun. Plus, we've got Betty. Betty? Commander Thex asked, dreading the answer. Engineer Roxy Chen patted a dented metal box on her lap. Basic electronic trajectory tracker, year 2150 model. She's a bit moody on Mondays, but who isn't? The assembled alien officers stared at the device like it might sprout legs and attack them, which, given its apparent age, seemed entirely possible. Moving on, I said, trying to maintain some semblance of order. Emergency protocols require all ships to maintain quantum-shielded communications. We've got radios, Rodriguez interrupted again. And flags for backup. Flags? Admiral Zarkax's voice hit a pitch previously achieved only by dying stars. You intend to wave pieces of cloth in space? Works better than quantum comms in an ion storm, Thunder winked. Several alien officers looked ready to resign on the spot. The situation deteriorated further during our first joint patrol. The Lucky Penny's engines made noises that sent our sensor arrays into panic mode. Their crew insisted on hourly breaks for something called coffee, a suspicious brown liquid that smelled like burned biomatter. "Captain Brightwing," Rodriguez's voice crackled over our emergency channel. "Mind if we make a quick stop? Roxy needs to give the port engine a whack with her lucky wrench." "A whack?" I repeated, certain my universal translator had malfunctioned. "With a wrench?" "Percussive maintenance," Chen chimed in cheerfully. "Works 60% of the time, every time." Commander Thex turned all three of his eyes toward me. "Captain, I must protest. These humans are making a mockery of our proud fleet. Did you see what they call their maintenance bay? A pit stop." He had a point. While our ships gleamed with self-repairing nano-coatings, the human vessels looked increasingly disheveled. One had actually patched a hull breach with something they called space tape. Apparently, regular tape wasn't sufficiently specific. During the evening briefing, Admiral Zarkax finally exploded. "This is unacceptable. They're using mechanical gyroscopes. Mechanical! I saw one of them reading an actual printed manual." Rodriguez, lounging against a wall, shrugged. "Digital manuals crash. Paper just gets a bit crispy." "Their navigation computer runs on transistors," a young officer whispered in horror. "Not even quantum transistors, just transistors." The final straw came during an emergency drill. While our ships executed perfect quantum jumps, the Lucky Penny's crew had to manually plot their course. They arrived 10 minutes late, trailing what appeared to be actual smoke. "Sorry about that," Thunder reported, not sounding sorry at all. "Had to stop for a quick repair, but hey, at least we didn't need to call tech support." I watched as Chen climbed out onto their hull in a suit that had visible patches and started hitting something with a wrench. The sound carried through our comm system, each clang making Admiral Zarkax's crystals vibrate with distress. "There," Chen announced proudly. "Good as new. Well, good as used. Well, good enough." Looking at my pristine fleet, now forced to share space with these flying junk heaps, I wondered if perhaps the humans had missed the last few millennia of technological advancement. Their ships weren't just outdated. They were practically antiques with engines. If only I'd known then that those antiques would soon save all our perfectly engineered behinds. The emergency alert blared through our fleet during the humans' sacred coffee break. A passenger liner, the Crystalline Swan, screamed for help on all frequencies. "Multiple hostile vessels. Some kind of new weapon. Systems failing. Coordinates Sector 793. Static devoured the rest of the transmission. "All ships, battle stations," I commanded, my scales shifting to combat purple. Our 12 advanced vessels surged forward, leaving the human rust buckets wheezing behind us. "We're coming too," Rodriguez announced over the radio. "Just need to finish our donuts." "This is a military emergency, not a breakfast run," I snapped back. "Trust me, Captain, nobody fights well on an empty stomach." Before I could remind her about proper protocol, we dropped out of quantum speed near the Crystalline Swan. 3 sleek black ships surrounded the passenger liner, their hulls bristling with weapons that definitely weren't legal in any sector. Their commander appeared on our screens, Grimjack, the infamous pirate, his face more metal than flesh. "Ah, the pride of the Galactic Defense Force, right on schedule." "Surrender now," I demanded. "You're outnumbered and outgunned." Grimjack's cybernetic eye pulsed red. "Numbers mean nothing against the right weapon. Boys, show them our new toy." Purple energy erupted from the pirate ships like liquid lightning. It washed over our fleet, and suddenly every quantum system went haywire. Neural interfaces died. Plasma containment fluctuated. Artificial gravity reversed, sending crew members floating toward their ceilings. "Engineering reports complete quantum cascade failure," Commander Thex shouted, now stuck to his console. Every advanced system is shutting down. Through my viewport, I watched helplessly as our mighty fleet drifted like dead leaves in a solar wind. Even our backup quantum systems were useless. Now then, Grimjack's voice oozed satisfaction, about those surrender terms. Yay-haw! Space cowboys to the rescue! Thunder Thompson's voice blasted through our ancient radio backup. The Lucky Penny roared into view, belching actual flame from its engines. 2 more human ships flanked it, their outdated hulls gleaming dully in the starlight. Grimjack fired his quantum killer weapon again. The purple waves swept over the human ships, and absolutely nothing happened. Hard to shut down tech we never installed, Rodriguez whooped. Thunder, show them why we keep those chemical rockets. What followed was the most unorthodox space battle in my 30 cycles of service. The Lucky Penny spun like a thrown axe, firing actual solid projectiles from weapon ports. The pirates' energy shields, calibrated for plasma weapons, might as well have been cobwebs. Opening the garage, Engineer Chen announced. Their cargo bay doors creaked open, releasing what looked like space trash. Thousands of magnetic mines, each barely bigger than a food ration, scattered across the battlefield. You're using physical explosives? Grimjack sounded personally offended. That's barbaric. Nope, that's physics. Thunder brought his ship around in a slingshot maneuver that should have torn any normal vessel apart. The mines attached themselves to the pirate ship's hulls, detonating in precise chains. Rodriguez's voice crackled through the chaos. Hey, Roxy, remember that trick we used in the asteroid belt? Already on it, Cap. Deploying the space nets. To my utter disbelief, they launched actual metal nets between their ships, creating a web that trapped the pirate vessels. When Grimjack tried to quantum jump away, his ships bounced back like toys on strings. The nets are made from old elevator cables, Chen explained proudly. Quantum fields can't form properly through them, simple but effective. This is impossible. Grimjack's face contorted with rage. You're using technology from the Stone Age. Stone Age? Thunder laughed. Nah, more like the nuclear age. Speaking of which, Roxy, give them the static special. The Lucky Penny's hull crackled with built-up electrical charge, accumulated from their absolutely horrifying method of atmospheric entry. They released it in a focused burst, frying what remained of the pirates' neural systems. Within minutes it was over. The pirate fleet hung disabled in space, their quantum weapons useless against technology too primitive to be affected. The human crews celebrated by blasting something called rock music through all frequencies. Don't worry about your fancy fleet, Rodriguez told me, still grinning. The quantum disruption should wear off soon. In the meantime, anyone want to learn about jump-starting a starship? For the first time in my career, I, Captain Zalith Brightwing, had to admit that perhaps, just perhaps, advanced technology wasn't always the answer. After the battle, Rodriguez invited our command staff aboard the Lucky Penny for what she called a post-action briefing. I expected a short meeting. What I got was a masterclass in technological simplicity that shook my understanding of progress itself. Welcome to the garage, Engineer Chen announced, spreading her arms wide in the cluttered maintenance bay. Tools lined the walls, actual physical tools, not quantum fabricators or nano-assemblers. This is your repair facility. Admiral Zarkax's crystal structure flickered with disbelief. It looks like a museum of primitive torture devices. See? That's your first mistake. Thunder Thompson picked up a massive wrench. You folks think newer always means better, but let me show you something cool. He walked to a panel, yanked it open with his bare hands, no neural interface required, and pointed inside. Look at this engine control system. Notice anything special? It's horrifyingly outdated, Commander Thex observed. Exactly. Chen bounced on her heels with excitement. Every single component can be repaired or replaced by hand. No quantum calibration required, no AI assistance needed, just good old-fashioned mechanical know-how. Rodriguez grabbed what looked like a teaching stick and pointed at a diagram on the wall. Our ships have 3 separate systems for everything: primary, backup, and what we call the O-crud system. The what system? I asked, dreading the answer. Oh, crud, as in, oh, crud, everything's broken, time for Plan C, Thunder grinned. When your quantum systems got fried, we were running on Plan C the whole time. Chen pulled out a box full of mechanical switches and proudly held it up. Complete manual override for every system. Can't hack it, can't fry it, can't quantum disrupt it, because it's just a switch connected to a wire connected to a thing that makes other things go. But that's so simple, Admiral Zarkax protested. Simple is survival, Rodriguez said, her voice turning serious. Look, we learned this lesson the hard way back home. Had this fancy AI defense system protecting Earth. One solar flare later, half our infrastructure crashed. So we started building redundancies. Then backups for the redundancies. Then manual overrides for everything. Thunder nodded toward their hull. Take our armor. Yeah, it looks like patchwork because it is patchwork. Each plate's a different alloy. If something eats through one type of metal, the next layer's completely different. Can't dissolve it all if every bite tastes different. And our engines? Chen patted a massive cylinder lovingly. Triple hybrid system, quantum drive for speed, chemical rockets for backup, and these beauties, pure mechanical pressure systems. Just heat and physics, baby. She flipped open another panel, revealing a maze of color-coded pipes. We can reroute any system through manual bypass valves. Life support goes down. Hand crank the oxygen processors. Engines dead. Redirect pressure from the waste recycling tanks for emergency thrust. Waste recycling tanks as propulsion? Admiral Zarkax looked ready to faint. Hey, thrust is thrust, Thunder shrugged. Had to do it once in the Martian asteroid belt. Stunk for days, but we survived. No. Rodriguez pulled up what appeared to be a paper manual, actual pressed tree pulp. Every crew member cross-trains in basic mechanical repair. We can't upload skills through neural nets, so we learn the hard way. Practice until it's muscle memory. But the inefficiency, Commander Thex started. Efficiency isn't everything, Chen interrupted. When those pirates hit you with their quantum disruptor, your ships were perfectly efficient at being perfectly dead in space. Sometimes inefficient and working beats efficient and broken. She reached into a drawer and pulled out rolls of their infamous space tape. This stuff looks stupid, works great. No, it's not pretty. No, it's not permanent. But it keeps atmosphere in and vacuum out until you can make proper repairs. Our targeting systems? Thunder pointed to a scope that looked purely optical. No AI prediction algorithms. No quantum targeting. Just good old-fashioned physics calculations and human reflexes. Can't hack a human eyeball. And the nets? I found myself asking, curiosity overtaking disdain. Elevator cables from Earth's first space elevator, Rodriguez said proudly. Turns out the older carbon fiber weave plays havoc with quantum field generation. Not because it's advanced, but because it's just the right kind of dense and ugly. Looking around the maintenance bay, I began to see their ships differently. Not as outdated relics, but as layers of solutions built on hard-learned lessons. Every crude patch, every manual override, every backup system represented a potential failure they'd planned for. The universe is chaos, Rodriguez said, reading my expression. You can't predict everything. But you can make sure that when the unknown hits, you've got options. Even if those options involve duct tape and prayer. Sometimes, Chen added with a wink, the best solution is the one simple enough to fix with a wrench. Standing there, surrounded by their primitive but proven technology, I realized these humans hadn't refused to advance. They'd chosen to advance differently, building resilience instead of sophistication. And looking at my quantum-dead fleet outside, I couldn't argue with their results. 2 solar cycles after our humbling education aboard the Lucky Penny, long-range sensors detected Grimjack's full pirate fleet, approaching the Centauri trading lanes. 30 ships strong, each armed with quantum disruptors stolen from ancient weapons vaults. All advanced ships, hold position, I ordered, my scales rippling with anticipation. Let the human vessels take point. Admiral Zarkax's crystalline form vibrated with disbelief. Captain Brightwing, are you suffering from space madness? Trust me, Admiral. I have a feeling we're about to witness something extraordinary. The Lucky Penny led 4 other human ships into formation. Their hulls gleamed with fresh patches, looking like a child's art project next to the sleek pirate vessels. Remember, folks, Rodriguez's voice crackled over the radio, Plan Stupid is now in effect. Plan Stupid? Commander Thex whispered. So stupid it's brilliant, Thunder Thompson replied cheerfully. Hit it, Roxy. The human ships suddenly released clouds of what appeared to be garbage. Literal space debris scattered across the battlefield, creating a glittering field of junk. Grimjack's laughter boomed through all frequencies. What's this? Trying to litter us into submission? Nope, Chen's voice carried a manic glee. Just adding some local colour. Thunder, light up the party. The human ships fired what looked like oversized flare guns. The space between them filled with burning magnesium, creating a brilliant, blinding light show. Sensors going crazy, one of Grimjack's captains reported. Too much scatter. Can't get clean targeting solutions. That's the problem with AI targeting, Rodriguez commented. Feed it too much data, and it chokes. Good thing we're aiming with our eyeballs. The Lucky Penny dove through the debris field like a drunken comet. The other human ships followed, each taking completely unpredictable paths. Their random movements made the pirates' targeting computers glitch and stutter. Fire the disruptors, Grimjack commanded. Purple energy waves rippled out and reflected off the field of spinning debris, creating a cascade of quantum interference. Fun fact about space junk, Chen announced. Lots of old satellites used quantum shielding. Still bounces energy real nice, even when they're broken. The human ships executed what they called a crazy Ivan, spinning backwards while still moving forward. Maintenance panels on their hulls flipped open, releasing streams of coolant that instantly froze in space, creating an obscuring cloud. Can't hit what you can't see, Thunder whooped, activating the bumper car's protocol. To my astonishment, the human ships extended what looked like reinforced ramming poles from their bows. They charged through their own smokescreen, using the debris field as cover, and started physically pushing pirate vessels out of formation. "This is barbaric," Grimjack screamed. "This isn't how space combat works." "Says who?" Rodriguez laughed. "Roxy, give them the shake and bake." The Lucky Penny's engines roared, releasing a combination of plasma exhaust and metallic particles. The cloud enveloped several pirate ships, and when they fired their energy weapons, the particles conducted the energy right back to them. "Basic conductivity," Chen explained. "Like sticking a fork in a power socket, but in space." The pirate fleet's perfect formation dissolved into chaos. Their advanced targeting systems couldn't handle the debris. Their quantum weapons reflected off random junk, and their shields proved useless against physical impacts. "Time for the finale," Rodriguez called. "Thunder, you got that old satellite dish ready? One space-sized mirror coming up." The humans deployed a massive, ancient communications dish, its surface polished to a mirror shine. When the pirates fired their quantum disruptors again, the dish reflected the energy right back, creating a feedback loop that overwhelmed their own systems. "That's from the old TV days," Chen said proudly. "Still bounces signals just fine, even quantum ones." "This is impossible." Grimjack's voice cracked with rage. "We have the most advanced weapons in the galaxy." "Advanced ain't everything," Rodriguez replied. "Sometimes you just need a really big wrench. Speaking of which, Roxy?" Engineer Chen appeared in a video feed, wearing a spacesuit covered in repair patches. She floated near one of the disabled pirate ships, holding an enormous wrench. "Anyone order a percussive maintenance session?" She proceeded to hammer on the pirate ship's quantum core housing, creating vibrations that disrupted its already destabilized field. "Stop that," Grimjack demanded. "You're violating every rule of space combat." "Rules?" Thunder snorted. "In space,
No one can hear you quote regulations."
The battle turned into something resembling a bar fight in zero gravity. Human ships used tow cables to spin pirate vessels around like toys. They deployed emergency foam that hardened in vacuum, gumming up weapon ports. One crew even released their entire supply of spare bolts, creating a cloud of high-speed projectiles that shredded energy shields. "And now," Rodriguez announced, "the grand finale. Everyone remember to record this. No one's going to believe it otherwise." The Lucky Penny positioned itself above the debris field, its hull crackling with built-up static electricity. They released the charge in a massive burst, energizing all the metallic debris. The junk field turned into a giant electromagnetic net, trapping the remaining pirate ships like fish in a conductive web. Grimjack's fleet hung defeated in space, their advanced systems either fried, jammed, or tangled in what appeared to be several kilometers of old TV cable. "Mission accomplished," Rodriguez reported cheerfully. "Anyone want to help us reel in these space fish? We've got spare work gloves." I looked at Admiral Zarkax, whose crystalline form had taken on a distinctly pale hue. "Perhaps," I suggested, "it's time to re-evaluate our definition of advanced technology." "Agreed," he whispered, watching Chen drift past his viewport, still wielding her victory wrench. "Though perhaps we could start with something simpler than whatever that was." "Oh, this was nothing," Thunder's voice carried a worrying amount of enthusiasm. "Wait until you see what we can do with rubber bands and paper clips." Standing at the podium during the Emergency Defense Council meeting, I never thought I'd say these words. And so I recommend immediate integration of human engineering principles into our fleet. The council chamber erupted in confused whispers. Admiral Zarkax's crystalline form sparkled with barely contained amusement as he watched his fellow officials squirm in their gravity-cushioned seats. "But their technology is primitive," Councillor Vector protested, his tentacles writhing in distress. "They still use mechanical gyroscopes." "Those primitive ships," I reminded him, "just saved our quantum-enhanced behinds from the largest pirate fleet in recent history." Captain Rodriguez stepped forward, and for once, she wasn't grinning. "Here's the thing, folks. Our ships aren't primitive because we can't build better ones. They're primitive because we chose to make them that way." The silence that followed was profound enough to hear a photon drop. "Wait!" Commander Thex's three eyes blinked in sequence. "You mean you have advanced technology?" Thunder Thompson laughed. "Have it? We invented half the quantum systems you're using, but we also learned some hard lessons along the way." Engineer Chen pulled out a holographic projector, an actual advanced one, and displayed images of sleek, sophisticated human vessels. These were our ships 20 years ago. Beautiful, weren't they? Right up until a solar flare fried every quantum circuit and nearly killed 3 colonies. "That's when we went back to basics," Rodriguez continued, "not because we had to, but because sometimes the best way forward is to take a step back. Sure, we kept the advanced tech in shielded bunkers back home, but for everyday space travel, give me manual controls and mechanical backup systems any day." "But the inefficiency," another councillor began. "Efficiency isn't everything," I interrupted, surprising myself. "These humans have shown us that reliability, adaptability, and the ability to fix things with a wrench can be more valuable than all the quantum computers in the galaxy." The council murmured, their various appendages and sensory organs twitching with uncomfortable revelation. Then Admiral Zarkax stood up. "I propose," he announced, his voice crystal clear, "that we establish a new training program. Every ship in our fleet should have at least one human-certified engineer aboard. Someone who knows how to bypass a quantum core with copper wire and—" He shuddered slightly. "Duct tape." "Seconded," I said quickly. "Though perhaps we should start with something simpler, like learning how to use a wrench without neural interface assistance." That's when Rodriguez dropped the real bombshell. "Oh, and one more thing. Remember that quantum disruptor the pirates used? Yeah, we developed that too. Called it Project Backstop, a weapon specifically designed to take out advanced tech while leaving simple systems untouched. Then we locked it away because it was too dangerous." Guess we should have locked it better. The council chamber erupted again, this time in a chaos of questions and accusations. Above the din, I heard Thunder whisper to Chen, "Should we tell them about the other projects we mothballed?" "Nah," she whispered back. "They're not ready to hear about the probability inverter yet. Or the quantum rubber band theory." Looking at my fellow council members having existential crises about technology, I realized that humans hadn't just outsmarted the pirates, they'd outsmarted the entire galaxy. While we'd been rushing forward with every new advancement, they'd been carefully choosing which technologies were worth the risks. And that, perhaps, was the most advanced thinking of all. Though I still don't understand why they painted flames on their ships, some human mysteries, I suppose, are better left unsolved.